Ellen Earley is also a family support specialist for the coalition. And Ellen has seen many, many sides of adoption. And she is here to tell us all about it with her amazing story called Adoption Expert. Ellen? Oh, there's the little
Expert might be pushing it, but I'm honored to be here. Thank you very much for asking me to do this. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I was adopted when I was 5 months old out of the foster care system through Catholic Charities. It was a typical closed 1973 adoption. My parents were wonderful and no complaints from me. I don't know if they might have had a few. Part of being adopted is never being biologically related to your family. And that was kind of a brain twist for me because I actually looked like I could be my parents' daughter. I had my dad's curly hair and I had my mom's eyes. And when I was out with my dad, people would say how much I looked like him, and he would thank them and wink at me. And when I was out with my mom, she'd say, "Isn't that neat? Because she's adopted." And that was part of our story. It was something that she was proud of and something she never wanted me to feel ashamed of, and I never did. When I was 21, I became pregnant, and I remember making the conscious decision to keep this baby. It was an option not to at the time, and I started imagining what our life would look like. Being an adopted person and being pregnant was surreal. My mom didn't have any when I was pregnant with you stories. She couldn't share that with me. I didn't really even believe I was pregnant until that first sonogram when I was 5 months. And even then, it was really hard to connect those fluttery movements inside me with the overwhelming love I was feeling that that was actually a baby. It didn't really compute. I had always felt like I had just kind of dropped out of the sky into my adoptive family, kind of like Mork from Mork and Mindy. Katie would remember that one. And now here I was about to give birth to my own baby. She came 10 days past her due date, 9 pounds even, with long fingers and green eyes, and I named her Sage. And she was perfect, and I was terrified. I didn't want to put her down, and I didn't want to let her out of my sight, not even let anybody else hold her. She fascinated me. We had the same eyes and the same smile, the same everything. She was the first person in my life I knew who I was related to. And when she grew up, strangers would sometimes ask if we were sisters. When Sage turned 5 months old, I couldn't help but think I had no idea where I had been in those first 5 months of my life. Did I have a name? How could anyone have given me up? Because I couldn't even bear to leave Sage's side, not even while she napped. I thought about my birth mom and what was happening in her life that had made her feel she couldn't keep me. Was she more afraid of keeping me than letting me go? I thought about my mom too. Was she worried about that something might be wrong with me that she didn't know because she hadn't known me for those first 5 months? Even now, it's hard to reconcile that someone loved me enough to give me away and someone loved me enough to keep me. Thankfully, Sage didn't have to struggle with that particular pain. She had her own struggles, though, as a teenager, and we got her help. And when she was about 20, she asked to come home because she was pregnant and she knew my home was safe. Of course, I welcomed her with open arms, and I knew how hard being a young mother was, so I was determined to support her so she didn't feel alone or scared. I'll never forget the night that my grandson was born. Sage kept saying that she was uncomfortable and she was having cramping and her back hurt. And I thought, sure, yeah, let's get the Barcalounger. That should definitely help if you can lay back for a while. And so we banged it down from upstairs, her brother and I. And it didn't help, of course, because little did we know she was actually in labor. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, we were driving to the hospital and she was literally doing an exorcist move over the front seat as I'm holding her hand and saying, "You're doing a great job. Just keep breathing." And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should run the red lights, that this looks kind of scary. Then I thought, no, it can't be that bad. I had all three babies. I was in the hospital, hooked up to machines, and it was 2 weeks overdue. And she was 2 weeks early. So no way was she going to be having this baby. So obviously I'm not a doctor. When we arrived at the hospital about 45 minutes later, she had 6 pushes and my grandson was born, and I cut the cord. I have never been so amazed by Sage, and I watched her do plenty of amazing things. being born, taking her first steps, riding a bike, driving a car, but the way she gave birth to her son will forever top the list. And she was incredible in those early months. I worried about postpartum depression, but she was in her element. She and her son were bonded like two peas in a pod. When he was about 17 months old, Sage had her wisdom teeth removed. She had had a lot of infection and pain, but she put it off because she was exclusively breastfeeding and she didn't want to put anything in her body that would hurt her child. But at that point, they said, it's okay, go ahead. She had all four wisdom teeth removed. The oral surgeon prescribed her oxycodone, and that was the beginning of her addiction. She left her son in my care, and I immediately got custody because I needed to bring him to doctor's appointments and other things like that. And I thought, I was just filling in until she felt better, until she got better. And she did get better. She did about almost a year, did a rehab program. And within that year, she called, FaceTimed with her son every night, singing songs and reading books. And then she came home. And again, they were just two peas in a pod. It was like nothing had come between them ever. But about a month after she came home, she went to a friend's funeral, and she didn't come home that night. I texted her that we loved her, and when she was ready, we were there. And at 10 p.m. on Sunday, September 16th, the police came to my door and gave me the news that no parent wants to hear. Sage was gone. That night was the beginning of my kinship journey. Since then, I've done everything I believed Sage would have done for her son: preschool, after school activities, being involved in the community. Some things I know she would not have done, like fast food and video games, but I'm still a Nana. My grandson finds pennies all the time, and we know that they're from Mama. We talk about her and we talk to her. To him, she is his angel. Every milestone is bittersweet because she should have been there. I am my grandson's parent. I stepped in when my daughter couldn't. It's not how I envisioned being a Nana, but I'm grateful, and I've been able to give him love, consistency, and a home for his entire life. The grief and loss and adoption is amplified in kinship. Kinship parents don't prepare for this. We don't save money or buy bigger homes in anticipation of raising our children's children. We do it out of pure love, often in the face of resentment, misunderstanding, anger, and with zero support from the system. But we also carry the wisdom of parenting a second time around: more patience, more perspective, and more understanding. I fell into my role at the coalition just 8 months after Sage passed. My grandmother always told me I was lucky, but I know this was purely Sage. I am now surrounded by people daily who get it, who walk the walk. When the coalition says family is the most important thing, they mean it with their whole heart. I've learned a new way to parent a child who's experienced the greatest loss possible. And I've been listened to, encouraged, and understood, from my own adoption experience to kinship parenting. And I now get to work with the experts, myself included, because the experts are the people who live and love in families that are created differently. Thank you.